Not enter a building that has the Spirit, but enter the Spirit. So, for instance, if you take the seven-sided form, okay, here it is here. If I run a rod through the cross and run it through the middle of the triangle, it makes a cube at the bottom. And that cube can go right into this form. So now we don't enter a building, okay, we don't enter a cathedral, okay, with a cross, with the spire, which is expiring, because when you die, I guess you go into the second dimension, you don't have a concept of the third dimension, so this gives you an indication of where to go. And also, you know, when you go around to all of these cemeteries, you always see the cedar trees, right? There's spikes like this. That's why. But this is a form inside the cathedral. It becomes part of the inside, which is a form, okay, which also can have a spire. But in this case, it's not expiring, it's inspiring. Because you're inside the spire, not outside. You can't enter this spire at all. This new one you can. So you're entering more into the building's form. Not the building with form inside, but the form you're in. So there's all kinds of ways that we can do this. Here's a one with all glass would be the spire. Here's one that has also another cupola, which is, this is 3 and this is 5. Another spire would be all stained glass. These are ideas that could be done. And of course, this one too. And you see, these are all ideas that come from this form. And that transformation of that form, that cube right there, okay, is in the building. So you would be in this building with that cube. And all the transformation that goes on, which I've shown you, all the transformation that goes on in here, and all the steps that I've shown last time, will be part of your experience of in this building. So when you go into this building, you are transforming because the forms are transforming. And we all react to form. So here's all the different ideas that show what can be done. Well, maybe I can go a little further. Okay. Now here is the seven-sided form in edges, not edges, points only. Points only. It's the same seven-sided form, but points only. Now what I did here was in the middle of this, there's a 6. And in the middle of that, there's a cube. So I thought that this right here, I keep saying these drawings are called beyond the light. This is a representation of the zodiac and what is beyond the zodiac. Now how did I come up with that? I found out how to take a dodecahedron, kind of looking funny looking because it's all kind of sloppy, but it does have 12 sides. There are 12 pentagrams. This is known as the dodecahedron. So I found out how to turn it inside out. So if I turn it inside out, it turns into this beautiful star. And that's the star that's inside here. And all of these faces here are the different colors, okay, of the zodiac. Rudolf Steiner, he put the colors of the zodiac in there. So I put the first 4 in, and I didn't have time to do the others. So I made that form large, and I have it here, just to show you the idea of this. Oh, we got it tight in here. Here's the form. Now this form can be made out of wood also in a real building. And of course there's the dodecahedron turned inside out, would have the different colors glasses. Remember, this is the idea. Rudolf Steiner said that the Goetheanum was only the very beginning. Well, this is the very beginning of form that you enter, not a building, but form that you enter that can transform. So that's that is coming apart here. Been around a while. So I'll set it here. And then, of course, I did other things to it that is going outside the form and inside the form, because there's forms on the outside of it and there's forms on the inside of it. So here I've added on, this is the root 2 section of the form, which is coming off the rectangle, and here could be the entrance. And I can add more to that, and I have the spire, so that this is hollow. It's not all closed in like this one, like the old cathedrals. This would be all stained glass in here. This could be slanted out in 3 directions, because it's based on the Trinity, which could be the lower school, middle school, and a high school of a Waldorf school. It doesn't have to be it's a sacred building. Education, nothing but sacredness. Now, here's the form I showed you. Here's the entrance. So you would enter this in this direction. You're about this high, about that high, the human being. And I put a sphere around it, but I didn't put an exactly perfect plastic sphere, but it's still enclosed in a sphere that shows the overall view of what the building would look like. Remember, this is a form. It just happened to be built in San Francisco, but here is this part in here. I haven't put glass in yet, but it is the form. Built in San Francisco, but here is this part in here. I haven't put glass in yet, but it is the form. So you would enter this. This is not an entrance. This would be all glass too. You're about this big. And then inside would be, of course, I didn't have glass at the time. I still don't have enough. So this is one attempt at working at architecture. Here you're going up the spire. You're going up this right here, and you're going up it. There it is, the very top. I put a slit at the top on all 4 sides, and when it arranged to the sun in a certain way, the light would come into the building, and like no other building yet, and that light would create this on the floor. This would be a reflection from the top of the spire that would move across as the sun moves. It's an X, and I'm showing how it moves a little bit. Remember, these are all models, and see how it changes. It's transforming too during the day. This is what we have to do. I think that the new buildings have to transform. I think that we have to experience a transformation, which we will experience internally. Now, in the past, okay, the Gothic cathedral, the walls were glass, and they all have figures in them, and so when you're in it as a congregation, not like the Greeks, the gods entered the building and the people were on the outside that looked at, knew that gods were here, okay? Then the Gothic came in and said, no, wait, we're going to congregate inside and let the gods speak to us. Okay, so this is the Grathianum. The Grathianum windows, okay, are one color in each window, and each one has an explanation or a story about how to go from in the building to outside the building, which is absolutely gorgeous. And then this is what you would see when you look up into the building. I figured out a way to change color to go from polarities. You'll see that the colors will change. And this will happen within the building. All right, let's get the next one. All right, here we go. You'll see that I figured out a way to change colors. So when you're in a lecture, like this one, you would start with red, and then you would end at the lecture into the opposite, which is the green. You'll be going through this transformation. Now the light from the new buildings won't come from the outside, it'll come from the inside. And then I'll show you here to see how that looks three-dimensional, but it's not. And you can see the color change. There it goes. Now you get to see the color changing through stained glass. And the stained glass is now inside the building, and the change is going on, and you'll watch these colors change through colored glass. And that transformation is going to affect us when we're in the building. It's not just static glass looking at us and light coming through, no more. It has to have a transformational quality that's going on for us, within us. We are in the building. And I think this is the future of architecture. Now, I don't know if that's the end, but anyway, at least you got to see the color transformation.
Why does it change? Why does it change? Is the sun making the change?
Why does it what?
Is the sun making the change?
No, the light is internal. The light is coming from inside the building. It's not coming from the sun. It's coming from us. Okay? It is either piped in through fiber optics, but it is coming from in the building. And instead of going into the building, it's going out to the building. It's saying, hey, how do you like these colors? How's this look to you? Not like, well, it looks pretty good. Where are you coming from? We have to enter into this process, into this transformation that's going on. So here I have drawn it up perfectly. Now you can see that you have to take what is not fantasy, but what is actually can be made, drawn, and measured. And I did enter this into a state contest for culture and the arts in Sacramento. There was a contest for a water plant that was building, that they wanted to build. So I designed a water blossom. I call this a water blossom, which you saw the colors change. And I got into, I was a finalist for, I think it was $1.5 million. But I didn't win. So anyway. All right. So in the past, for instance, they built structures like this outside the building that would hold the bell. And then they started to get a little more sophisticated where they're holding the bell. And then they moved the bell up into the building, and the bell is up in the spire. But now it is connected with the building. And then there's this bell. And that's this one. And what I did with this bell was one of the transformations that we go through, especially in embryology, is reversals. So I took a bell and I learned how to turn it inside out. So the inside out bell looks like this. That's a bell turned inside out. That's called a reversal. That's what our kidneys and our liver does. Anyway, so here it is here. It's a wax model. And so it looks like an oriental bell, except the opening is at the top. It's not at the bottom. But it's very similar in its shape. So this bell sits on the ground. It's not in a spire. The sound of this bell isn't going down like this and calling the congregation in anymore. Okay? Remember that this arc right here was the determining of how many people it could reach that could say it's time to come to church. This bell isn't doing this. This bell is very interested in what's going on up here, because the sound runs this way. It doesn't come down. It's within the building, and it sits on the building, on the floor. So there'd be a whole series of these in a circle, okay, and they could be all wrong and so forth. So I showed this about 2 years ago at a conference, and this one Waldorf teacher came up to me and says, you know, I'd sure like to try to make that bell. So I said,